Now, my question here today is that we've seen the whole four pillars thing often being, thrown into disrepute. I think when four pillars was first said amongst those young guys in AEW, everyone kind of believed it and said, yeah, these are like the four guys that this company's going to stand on and going to grow through. Your Darby Allins, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and of course, Jack Perry. Is Jack Perry still a pillar to AEW? It's been a very interesting few weeks for Jungle Boy Jack Perry, or just Jack Perry as he's going by these days. He has been embroiled in all kinds of drama, which I'm sure he probably thought he left behind 8-9 months ago, but the company he works for, All Elite Wrestling, they have chosen to bring it back to the forefront, airing footage of the actual scenario that happened at All In London, Wembley Stadium, all of those months ago, where he was attacked by CM Punk, and obviously CM Punk has since been fired, turned up at WWE, and Jungle Boy was suspended. Looks like he was sent to New Japan as maybe part of his suspension or part of his rehabilitation, who knows. And it looks for me that Jack Perry is set to return to AEW imminently. It seems like the reason they chose to air the footage is to help kind of bring him back into AEW amongst this storyline that the Young Bucks are having with FTR, and I will not be surprised if Jack Perry, the scapegoat, joins the Young Bucks and this new elite faction that they are building. Now, Jack Perry, I think he may have been overpunished, especially the way it's come out that the whole situation was dealt with, that Tony didn't speak to him for so long and this, that and the other. I just think that's nonsense. Like, he was clearly wrong in running his mouth and all of that kind of stuff. At the same time, I feel like his punishment hasn't fit the crime at all. However, he's gone over to New Japan. He's actually dealt with this situation pretty well, in my opinion. He's been booked relatively well in New Japan, but most importantly, I think he's done a lot of good character work, embracing this heel character, getting over more so as a bad boy, as a heel, and I think it's really worked for him. Now, my question here today is that we've seen the whole four pillars thing often being, thrown into disrepute. I think when four pillars was first said amongst those young guys in AEW, everyone kind of believed it and said, yeah, these are like the four guys that this company's gonna stand on and gonna grow through. Your Darby Allins, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and of course Jack Perry. Is Jack Perry still a pillar to AEW? That is my question. I don't really know the answer to this sort of thing. I feel like ever since that comment was made, AEW has moved on a lot. Like, it has kind of really acquired a different level of stars. I mean, if we're talking about actual pillars that hold up AEW, that, are kind of heart and soul kind of characters for AEW, immediately Mox is my go-to. I think Moxley is brilliant, and there's other guys that have become that for AEW. I would say a Danielson, that's someone that they acquired, and wasn't there from day one, has really become a cornerstone of that company. I would probably say MJF is still amongst the four of them a cornerstone for me. Darby Allin somewhat as well, but the likes of a Sammy Guevara, the likes of a Jack Perry, a pillar for AEW. I think, if let's say they were to move on to elsewhere, to pastures new, AEW would still stand. So the pillar comment, I don't know. I know the whole pillar comment anyway was said in kind of tongue in cheek, and that these are just the four guys coming through. But in terms of holding up the company, I don't see it. But Jack Perry, for me, still has a lot to prove. The Japanese fans, especially after the past weekend with the Windy City Riot pay-per-view that New Japan put on and the reaction to everything, and that was in Chicago, those fans kind of ate it up and he looked really good. It's now, can he come back to week TV and really prove his worth and his mettle? And AEW have stood by him here if this whole situation has gone on, and like I said, I think he's been overpunished, but they've stood by him here, and it's almost now time to repay the faith sort of thing. I find it very hard to see him kind of go elsewhere. Indies, you could probably make a really good living on the indies and New Japan and stuff like that, but I don't see maybe WWE acquiring him, especially while CM Punk is such a prominent figure over there right now. So AEW has to be where it works for him. I think there was a drop off following the whole Jungle Boy character, but we knew it was going to take some time for him to become a heel from such a beloved character with Jungle Boy. Now he's actually had some adversity, some edge happen to him with this entire story around CM Punk and stuff, the way he's kind of encapsulated it and taken it on board and everything, I feel is working. I won't say has worked because there needs to be some fruits of the labor of what he's doing. So I'll definitely say it's working. Like, he hasn't run into a little cave and hidden because of everything that's been said, sort of thing. So I think he's taken it on pretty well. Just don't think that he is so integral anymore. And this isn't really just a Jack Perry thing. Like I said, Sammy Guevara, I don't think is that integral to AEW anymore. Some would argue that maybe Darby Allin and MJF aren't either. And, you know, let me know your opinions, because Jack Perry, I think, now has shown, right, he can go out, he can get the heel heat, he can manage the heel heat. How is he now going to be taken on the inside when he returns to AEW? Which, like I said, I think is imminent. I think we've got a ladder match at AEW Dynasty, which will be hotly contested against the Young Bucks and FTR. And I think Jack Perry's going to be the deciding factor. I think he comes in, he costs FTR, he helps the Bucks win those tag team championships, and then he goes under their learning tree from there. So maybe the Bucks are going to be a key part in making him a pillar or making him more important. He is one of their own in terms of a young boy from California. Many have said that's the reason that they brought him in, or they are looking after their own, their locals. So I expect them now to kind of prop up Jack Perry from here on out. They've been very vocal and taking the side of Jack Perry in this whole affair. Is Jack Perry still a pillar for AEW? Not right now. I think the next couple months though will be very telling to see how he kind of adapts to life in this new AEW, where largely TV has been really good over the past calendar year. In terms of 2024, it's been really, really good, but there are so many big names there now that, you know, it's going to be very important that Jack Perry doesn't get lost in the shuffle.